Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Synchronic Saturdays with Megan and Crystal. Today, we're going to be diving into introverted feeling, and we're going to be exploring how that function looks on a spectrum. And we're going to be using the terms low vibe and high vibe. If you have not already listened to our other episode, I forget what number it is, a couple back from this, we sort of explain those terms a little bit deeper. So if you're confused at all, maybe go check out that. But the gist of it is that we're going to be exploring how introverted feeling as a function looks on the lowest possible way it could go, vibration, to the highest. So since Crystal's an ENFP, I figured that you can take it away.
Yeah, of course. So what I find is when it comes to high vibe and low vibe FI, if you watched our last video, we talked about how like low vibe TI can manifest as really petty like comments, like smart ass things that don't often seem like they help people, but end up doing so in a really kind of indirect, harsh way. And high vibe TI is very open-minded, open to refining its ideas, and yeah, just ultimately very thoughtful in its approach. And so to parallel that today, we can talk about how high vibe FI and low vibe FI can trigger people in a similar way. Low vibe FI is very petty, very dramatic.
Do you think that petty would be sort of a characterization of either FI or TI?
Yes.
Because
like low, yeah.
Because I think FE or TE would just call them out or like say something about it.
Yeah, low vibe FI or TI is like the ammo behind when people dislike FE or TE. It's like kind of pushing it out, making people feel that impact. But I think like low vibe FI and TI can both just be like have someone maybe have like a bad taste in their mouth after, versus high vibe FI is very empathetic, open, and giving. And an FP, they say people love and hate FPs because sometimes on any given day, an FP is in a good mood and they just know how to light up anyone's day, inspire anyone.
Something that annoys me with this is that I think that FPs can be the best friends in the world, and then if they are going through something, then they can be complete assholes. And
exactly.
It's like, oh, well,
low vibe, high vibe.
Well, it's like, well, oh no, I'm in a bad mood. And I'm like, that doesn't give you an excuse to be an asshole, because everyone could be in a bad mood at any time. That doesn't ever give you an excuse. But what I've also noticed on the reverse of this, so that maybe high vibe FI would have, is that if somebody was rude to you, then you would think, oh, well, maybe they're just having a bad day and like not take it personally. But if someone's rude to me, I'm going to take it personally every day of the week. I don't care if you're in a bad mood. That's not an excuse. I don't give myself an excuse.
Yeah, like I think high vibe FI, like for me at least at my best, I can bypass my emotions for someone else, and I'm very like empathetic, and like I nearly know how to cheer people up, and I know how to be encouraging and like kind of like be in touch with who I am. And then at my lowest, like kind of low vibe FI, I can be very like dramatic and like self-centered and like feel like a victim, which maybe is enhanced by other aspects of me, like my Enneagram type 4.
Yeah, being a type 4, I think, will make the feeling like a victim thing come out a little bit more. But
I agree, yeah. But like I think all FI users to an extent have seen themselves on the spectrum, just as we said for TI. Like I know that every FI user, when I'm in the low state, they're like, oh my god, I've so been there. I was there like yesterday or like something. So it just
like both
manifests
FI
for
and
them.
TI sort of have aspects where it involves like how much responsibility are you taking. Like lower vibe FI feels like a victim, and higher vibe FI will just take shit and like people are mean to them or whatever, and they just love and accept everything.
Exactly, like low vibe I think high vibe FI just like low vibe FI, just like low vibe TI, isn't taking responsibility for its impact, like you said. By
low vibe TI would be more like if they wouldn't necessarily, well, they could feel like a victim, but it would be more like oh my god, I'm surrounded by idiots, you guys are
low vibe TI is like victimizing itself via self-righteousness, versus low vibe FI victimizes itself via being special,
Almost
maybe.
seems like you want pity.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like that.
Yeah, and yeah, I think I do want pity to an extent.
But then you'll sometimes get mad, like, oh, don't pity me.
Well, see, but the thing is, like, I would say that maybe the pity that I'm looking for is like a very specific type. And so, like,
an example.
Let's see. Do you want to maybe dive into like the current context of like what I'm going through?
Yeah, let's dive into that. I was unsure, but for the viewers or listeners at home,
you can say it and I'll add annotations because you can sum it up.
I'm quite peeved by Crystal right now. I am annoyed as heck, and pretty much because we were supposed to do this podcast an hour ago, and I told her last night to not hang out with these boys that I knew were going to make.
I did hang out with them. I only hung out with one.
No, but this is my logic, is that if you are sad that you don't have a Valentine, why would you hang out with the people that you know are going to make you sadder? Like, I don't even know. Like, and she can go into it, whatever. But I just literally told her to take care of herself last night, and then she didn't take my advice, and now she was upset, and now my day is completely off an hour because she needed help, and I don't know what you needed help with, and all the FPs are probably gonna think I'm being a dick right now, and I'm like, sorry. But the thing is that for me, part of it is like, yo, I gave you the advice. I gave you the advice, and then you didn't take it. And as an Enneagram 2, aside from that, it's really hard for me when I feel like my advice is not taken, and it's not because I think I'm right, but it makes me feel worthless, because it's like, why did I even waste my time helping? And it makes me feel like there's nothing I can say or do to help. And so it's like, why am I even wasting my breath? Why are you even talking to me? If the things that I'm doing to give to you, you aren't even using. And so it's like, I might as well just say nothing. You know, it's not that I don't want to help. It's that I literally don't know how to help you. And I also literally cannot help somebody that is not letting me know what you're actually sad about. Because this is the thing that you always do that I think might be low vibe FI, is that you are so in your feelings. You're sad about something.
Drake, Kiki, do you love me?
I can tell you're sad about something. And then so I make guesses like, oh, maybe you're sad that you don't have a Valentine. And you're like, no, it's not that. And I'll like, oh, well, maybe you're sad about this. No, it's not that. You don't get me. It's like, okay, well, I cannot get you if you don't tell me why you're sad.
Yeah. And it's like, for me as a parallel, whenever like TI users are upset and then I try to guess and they like seem to lash out and they're like, I'm not upset at you, I'm upset at this thing. That's also what applies here. It's like, I'm not mad at you for trying to help. I'm mad at you. I'm mad at myself for not understanding your advice 100%. But it manifests anyway as.
And you don't understand the advice because you don't have TI, do you think?
Yeah, basically. Like, I was thinking, oh, like she advised me to not, like, you know, focus on, like, you told me, like in my head what translated was shift your focus, don't go to certain events. So I didn't go to this one event that I assumed would be triggering, but I didn't think about applying the advice to another parallel situation that might have similar tenets.
Yeah, and I guess this is another one of those things where NE just sort of will hear your perception. Because I didn't even say anything about the event. I said about the people.
Well, because in my mind, when you were talking, I was applying it to that one specific thing.
Yeah,
kind of like an SI. So you're talking about the NI like concept or something. And so, yeah. But anyways, the point is, so for me, experiencing low vibe FI is like, kind of like I will only be able to react in a certain way to certain kinds of help. And so it's kind of like my filter, my ability to receive advice or validation like narrows significantly and makes me more emotionally reactive. So for low vibe FI, that will look like you're like lashing out and being bratty, and it will also look like you just don't really care about other people's perspectives. I guess you're just stuck in your own. And yeah, well, like it basically makes you seem like selfish, I guess. I don't know any better word than that.
What, and maybe we'll probably develop a theory by the end of this. I wonder what like your ignoring function has to say with you being annoyed with something, because we talked in the last video about how our blind spot function, which one's
the ignoring one again?
That would be my FI. like your fifth,
Oh, okay.
your fifth function.
Okay.
So the opposite orientation of your dominant function.
Mhm.
So here's what I'm getting at. And just for those of you who didn't watch the last video, Crystal and I were theorizing that if you see someone who's using a low vibe of your inferior function, it's probably going to make you lash out and be upset about it.
Wait, sorry. If you see someone using a low
vibe of your inferior.
Oh,
we talked about this. It was like low vibe TI makes me react.
Mm-hmm.
And then you react to low vibe SI, but then we don't react to our blind spot. Like if someone's using low vibe SI, I'm going to be annoyed, but I'm just going to like roll my eyes and like leave. And you do that with TI. But I wonder what it is about your inferior or about your ignoring function, because I am so disgusted by this whole conversation. And I'm just trying to be honest here. So I think there's something to.
Yeah. Also, viewers, like, this is like maybe harsh seeming, but like I've been really brutal with like Megan's inability to use FI and TE at times.
Yeah, she's been brutal, and I'm kind of so
like I don't really care.
TE to you. I'm trying to be honest about my FI. I'm not trying to gloss it over like a lot of other FJs do. Because
because I caught on that like FJs hate FI like early on in our friendship, and I'm grateful for this right now.
I've noticed, being honest. I've noticed that with you would prefer me telling you if I'm disgusted by something than me acting like I'm not and acting like I'm a good friend, and you sensing that I'm disgusted anyway.
Yes,
so
precisely.
I'd rather talk about it.
Yeah, precisely. Like, so it's like you can't really change that you just don't like low vibe FI, like,
and I also don't want to be just disgusted by it just because I'm an FE dominant. And so that's why I'm wondering, like, is this, I mean, a thing where maybe I don't like low vibe FI? Because it would make sense, because if I ignore my own FI, then why would I care for somebody else's FI? You know what I mean?
Yeah, precisely. No, like, I completely agree. Yeah.
Why would I care about, like, I don't even care for myself in those moments.
Yeah, like you wouldn't have empathy for yourself. Actually, okay, you would never be.
I would never.
I was like, you would never be in the situation. So I'm kind of like, well, theoretically, if you were in a similar situation or experiencing a similar emotion, how about that? You'd be like, ew, oh my god, or like something. And I also, in a parallel sense, look down at like NI, because I think it's like sometimes a little too like foolish and like one track minded. I don't want to be that way or something.
Okay. Yeah.
So
and we'll explore that more in the NI video, but
yeah. But anyways, so as to how you ignore like FI, in a sense, I think sometimes if I feel like FJs seem to react more and notice my low vibe FI more when I'm in low vibe FI versus when I'm in high vibe FI. It seems like they almost think it's FE, and that it didn't take me much energy to like generate when it did. So that's something that like annoys me about FJs, is like they seem to take for granted. It's kind of like in my mind, which I'm not saying that they literally think this way, but it comes off to me that when, especially when FJ is mad at me for like not being a good friend when I'm in low vibe mode, then I'm like, oh, that makes me think that when I was in high vibe mode, you like didn't. Yeah, it really makes me think that when I was in like high vibe FI mode, you didn't realize that I was like not that was like unsustainable. Like when I'm in like high vibe FI mode and I can like kind of go along and be like a super open-minded good friend, even better than most people, that's not like me 24/7 or something. Yeah. So I don't know if that makes sense.
ENFPs are not consistent with that.
Yeah, we're not consistent with that. Wherever we fall on the spectrum, I think especially an FE user will be very sensitive to, because it's like opposite then, you know what I mean? Like FE for the most part is more stable and it's gonna give a little more or give a little less, but FI is like super like all over the place.
I would almost rather someone consistently be a dick than be a good person 50% of the time and a dick the other half.
And I guess like, this is also where I'm like, I don't like how FE says be a good person, because I know that they're just saying that in the moment or not, but it's like, no, like I am just a person in general, and it's not like my actions change whether I'm good or bad.
I just think that you fluctuate a lot, and I don't know if that is just low vibe FI whenever those moments happen, or if that is just the nature of FI, of you sliding on the scale from low to high.
Well, I would say that for me as an FP, my highs and lows are more noticeable, because I like let myself express them no matter what, I don't repress them in favor of any like FE standard. And I don't think most FPs act like this, honestly.
You know
well,
what?
I don't know. It depends.
This is sort of a tangent, but it reminds me of how the sixth function is called the critic. So you are very critical of FE, and I'm very critical of NE. And it reminds me of like how if I were to say something like on YouTube or Twitter and people were to misconstrue what I said, I just double down with NI. I'm like, no, that's not what I meant. You're wrong for getting me wrong.
Yeah. You do that. Yeah.
I don't care. It's like I'm very critical of the way that NE will try and get the gist of things. And I have like no time for it. I'm just like, no, you're wrong. But I think like with you, like with FE, you do that too, where like,
I double down on FI, yes,
you,
for sure.
You see that there's a standard, like you see that people are expecting you to whatever, and you'll say, well, no, I'm mad, so I'm not going to, or something.
Yes, precisely. I like the imitation, like, yeah, I'm mad, because that's how I feel. Yeah, no, and it's taking me so much effort to like try to stop doubling down, well, and I don't know, and like it's like, yeah.
Something you said to a boy last night was something, don't change how I feel. Isn't that what you said?
Yeah, I did say that.
Don't try and tell me what I should feel.
No, because literally he said something that was kind of like dropping a bomb on an FI user, and he was like, oh, I know you're gonna overanalyze it, and then I didn't even like start acting mad. I just kind of like looked a little like,
wait a minute. This was an ISTJ like, boy that told you, oh, I know you're gonna overanalyze this later.
And I was just like,
does that sound familiar to an ESTP guy that I knew?
Oh yeah, it does.
I wonder if that's a thing where like if you share the same functions, they think they're being like, I don't know. That's, I wanted to punch this person in the face when they
yeah, and I did too.
They assume, you're probably gonna overanalyze this later, aren't you?
Oh yeah, and God. I'm just like, oh, you want power over me, bitch? Like, well, guess what? Oh yeah, look, I lost. You affected me. I am leaving this venue now. Fuck you. But yeah, I
feel like this video is being not very informative. But honestly, I don't understand. I'm so mad at FI. I'm so mad at you right now that I am not really accessing my TI and I'm not really explaining this well. And so, can you sort of explain like low FI?
Like, okay, well, like the inner workings, essentially, of when someone experiences it.
I'm sensing a lot of resentment for the fact that FI exists right now, and I don't want that to come across in the video, like, negatively. Well, I'm sensing that I'm holding myself back from talking about it because I don't want to be biased and say something wrong about it.
Yeah.
So I think I would like you to take the lead on it.
Okay. So, like, low vibe FI is when, like, okay, well, I guess I'll start with the benefits of low vibe FI because what I do feel like it does is
have an example?
Okay.
Remember, this video is to explain what it is.
Low vibe FI is like when someone's like super caught up in their feels and they kind of gain tunnel vision and they don't see anyone but themselves. They don't see anything but their own.
Is there an example from your personal life that you can share?
I don't know because there's so many all the time.
Pick one. Pick the most recent one.
Well, I would say
farthest away one.
Or the most furthest away, whatever. So like for me, when I'm upset, I always like tie it to like kind of like a life theme of my feelings. And what I'll do is I'll kind of just end up like isolating. And the people and isolating and not talking to people or not being as curious about other people's lives or wanting to talk about other people's problems. And the people that, get, no one likes that when I'm in that state. I think like a lot of FE friends will sometimes try and like help me. And then I'll end up kind of lashing out at them or saying like, like low vibe FI sayings are like, you just don't understand. Or like, you're being so mean right now versus if FE like said, you're being mean, they would just be observing. But low vibe FI would say, you're being mean as like an attack or something. So they would basically start
Can we give an example of like why someone would be that way or like a situation?
Okay, like if I'm sad because a boy called me dramatic and that's been like something that's been a trigger throughout my life.
Let's pause here though. I think that's the thing that TI users need to understand about FI is that you're not just upset at the thing, you're upset at the concept of being dramatic in your entire life. Like
yes.
Because that's why I think it looks so dramatic, like from an FETI perspective. Sorry, I just called you dramatic.
No, it's fine. We're using it selectively right now.
But like, I think that an FE user would assume that you were just upset about that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, okay, it's hard,
especially
in
FJ.
It's hard to really say because I know that this is sort of connected to the fact that I use SE and you use SI, and I'm not quite sure to what extent the SE and SI plays a role. Mm-hmm. But even SFPs, whenever they are feeling FI, wouldn't you say that they're thinking of the theme of their life in a way?
Yeah, because we only get offended by things if we have like heard it before and it draws a specific reaction to us. Like if you called like that specific, well, for me at least as an NFP, that specific label, that TE word and that TE association of what that means, it like echoes past the situation I'm in as me being dramatic in that moment. And so for me, like being called that is like gonna make me snap at you more, versus if I'm in a good mood and you say I'm dramatic, if I was in a high vibe FI mode, I'd be able to like laugh it off and be like, but why am I dramatic? Let's think about this.
So something I realized that I forgot to do is really just explain so introverted feeling is subjective, deep values or ethics. So for you, I think it makes sense that it is connected to a theme, because it's almost like you must have heard it before for it to really even trigger you.
Yes, no, precisely.
Because it wouldn't trigger you unless it was like everything about you. I don't.
Yeah. No. That makes sense.
The same as how TI cannot really accept a new fact unless it fits with everything that it ever was.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to critique a TI user's idea, then you would be critiquing their entire framework and pretty much calling them stupid, because that fit in with everything.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, and to parallel.
The only way it would really hurt you is if it was almost like telling you that your entire value system is wrong.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Exactly.
It's like crumbling down, because I think every FP wants to live by good values.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just
and it's not the same as how an FJ wants to seem like a good person,
have harmony.
When I say wants, I put this on Twitter yesterday, but pretty much something for everyone to remember is that feelers are more focused on ethics than they are logic. And so a consequence of that could be that they're so focused on ethics that they forget about logic for a second. But it doesn't mean that we are stupid. It just means that we could overdo it with the ethics.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that we're ethical either. It just means that we're focused on it, because it's possible that we could be so focused on it that we are so close to the fire that we aren't even seeing clearly. So every feeler is going to want to be good in this way, and every thinker is going to like want to be smart, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't mean that you are or not.
Yeah, precisely. It doesn't define your character, define the execution. So yeah, like going off of this value system, I would say yes.
Yeah. Especially I'm understanding you a lot better now if I'm thinking that you are, okay, when people criticize you, does it make you second guess your value system? Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like literally my entire identity.
Go ahead.
Now that you have established a TI framework for understanding and also explained the framework of the framework.
So I was just going to say that I think that makes sense. And also like that it confuses me, because it seems like your value system is so deep that it's almost like you can say one fact that can threaten the entire
TI.
The entire FI. Like I'm trying to think about how FI and TE work, It's almost like how
Ooh.
one fact, like,
Ooh, I'm getting heated now. Ooh,
one
this is
can
hot.
trigger the entire value thing, and it can almost make you want to double down. Okay, so here's the thing: the main idea that I think of when I think of low vibe FI being triggered for a good reason would be, again, we were talking last time about how like a lot of minority groups and activists use low vibe TI because there's no other option. This would be like if low vibe or FI, if you were to critique someone because of their identity, like because of their sexual orientation or like for being a specific race, I don't care what type you are, you probably have FI about that, and one fact can trigger it all.
Yeah, wait, how did you just come up with this? Because I'm like trying to like look back at the conversation. I'm just like, I don't know at what point this bitch came up with this, but it good as hell.
Well, I here's something that I had FI about, is that I was called a dyke for the first time, and it was used as a slur. That one fact then makes you feel all the FI that you feel about the identity. It's not like FE would be like, oh, that person's mean or something like about that. I did not actually, like, my FE was fine. Like, I was not like upset about the person like at all. It just was a reminder. It's like a TE reminder of the truth of who you are.
Okay, yeah, and now I understand why it was so hard for me to explain what I was going through to you, like earlier on the phone when I was talking about the situation, because it was like, okay, like just take away the fact I totally ignored your advice, like, but
it's almost like if TE calls you dramatic, it's not like that you feel like, oh, that person's mean. You're thinking, yes, I am dramatic. This is the truth of FI that I've always been.
Yeah, yes,
like, oh, I'm a Leo and blah blah blah.
Yeah, precisely. But okay, so for the viewers, like, and I can also tie this into Megan's concept and then into low and high vibe FI instead of trying to talk about my life generically. So what happened was I was romantically entangled with this ISTJ, and yes, I realize now, like as I'm saying the SE out loud, that this was extremely stupid of me to not realize. But because I've been kind of like freaking out about another dude lately, and the ISTJ guy and I decided basically to be friends, I assumed, oh, the TE and FI of our relationship now is we are friends. Like,
here's the SE. Here's the SE here, is that they decided to be friends like yesterday or like 2 days ago. They decided to be friends on February 13th and then decided to hang out on February 14th.
Well, okay, yes, to SE, it, like, might as well have been. It wasn't literally that to the SI users, but it was very recent. And also,
it was the 12th.
It was like literally like.
You told me that literally this week. It was like yesterday.
We decided on like February, like
12th.
Last week. No, we decided.
You told me it was this week.
We talked again about it, but we had already decided the week before. Yeah, I guess we.
You decided internally. You confirmed it with him. So okay.
Well, okay, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Her FI has been over it for a full week, and they confirmed that they would be friends 2 days before Valentine's.
Yeah, and like he's like moving to like a different fucking continent, and like but anyways, so basically what happened was, his friend, I basically posted something that made it look like to SE that I wasn't over it, I guess. And his friends like asked him about it. And so then last night we were at a concert and he was drunk, and he basically came to me and was just like, we're like really cool, right? Like we're like homies. And I'm like, yeah, we already went over this. Like, and I was just like, I'm suspicious because I could feel something about to come out. Like I was like, you're an NETE user too. You would not bring this up for no reason. He was like, yeah, but like my friends were saying this is this. And then basically he was just like, oh, but I know that you're going to be like dramatic about it and blah, blah, blah. And I think that because he's a TJ, the context in which he said it just made it feel even more jarring, because like other people would only say I'm dramatic after I've already been dramatic. But he was like expecting me to like become dramatic about it. And I kind of fell for it because I was dramatic about it. But because of that, because of the TE fact that I could see he was expecting that dramatic reaction from me, I felt way more judged for it, especially because the thing he was bringing up was triggering.
That kind of reminds me of whenever people are like, don't be mad, and then it makes me mad.
Yeah,
like I'm
pretty
not
much.
mad, and then if you're treating me like such, sometimes people treat me like a, what's the word? I can't think of the word. Like I don't know, like a hot potato.
I got the image, like you're like a kettle about to blow
yeah,
up.
a kettle. I was literally just.
I was like thinking about that because I was like, some people treat me like I'm like, I don't know how to say this.
No, but,
but yeah,
because you've treated me that way.
Yeah, and because I've been treated that way too, which
what
is
do you
why
think
it's more
is better? I feel like that's an ENF thing, maybe.
Yes,
But
definitely.
also Leo energy.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So what do you think is the better metaphor? A hot potato or a kettle about to blow up?
A kettle about to blow up, because a hot potato would just be like,
Always
it's hot. But if a kettle, there's gonna be it's not blowing up, and then it does blow up.
When people treat me that way, then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Or like a ticking bomb. How about a ticking bomb?
Yeah. When people treat me that way, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm never actually about to blow up until people treat me like they're so afraid, like that I'm about to. Then I'm like, how dare you? Do you think that you know what I'm about to feel? And then I blow up, and then it's like, I don't know. It was a trap.
Yeah, but you're not blowing up about the thing I thought you were gonna blow up about. You're blowing up about the other thing. And see, that was like what I was doing. Yeah, and like,
yeah, I never blow up about the thing. I always blow up about that.
Yeah.
So
okay.
That happens like all the time. But then I always feel like it's a trap, because then I end up like proving their preconceived notions about me.
Yes, it was such a this was such a trap, and it took me so much effort to not just be like, we cool, like whatever. There were like so many TE facts where I was like, he's moving soon. I'm not going to see him.
Though, really quick, is that pretty much Crystal has always had all these faraway crushes that she doesn't talk to. And so whenever you put paragraphs and paragraphs about your feelings about the concept of love on Facebook, there was nobody in the actual SE that would be thinking, oh, is that about me? But now that there are people that are around, they thought it was about them. And you're like offended because your NE is like, no, I'm talking about the possibilities. How dare you?
I am like, that, yeah.
How dare you think that this is all about you? Because what it was your entire heart talking about the concept of that.
Yeah, and it's like bitch, you don't know I've slept with like several people like after, like, you know, like what the fuck?
But it's like you share just like a piece of your FI and a piece of your potential, and you were offended that they thought that was all about them, and you're like, how dare you?
And then they called me dramatic because I'm like, yeah, if it was about you, it would be, but I'm not gonna, because then I was like, if I tell him that it's about someone else too, it's gonna start drama.
Literally so bad, like terrible SE to think that you could post that and that nobody would wonder about it.
Yeah, I guess. I don't really think people wonder about stuff.
Nobody. Okay, and honestly, for those listening, this situation I would never ever in a million years be in. Like, I just want you guys to realize how different NFJs and NFPs are, like, in this. Like, I like have no sympathy. It takes work for me to try and sympathize with this.
Yeah, basically. It's like, yeah. I think if you had TI and SE, you would have like maybe expected a reaction like this, versus I literally was like blind to it because I was just thinking NE, FI, like I'm in my feels, blah blah blah.
The truth
or like something.
Of your FI is that you were cool about being friends with him. But the thing that is weird to me is that you are dramatic and all that, but you also are extremely not dramatic, because you literally just decided to not be his friend, or to just be friends 2 days ago, and then now you're cool to hang out. And so like that's not normal.
Yeah, and I realized that like
I would not be okay with that at all. I would not be over a person after a few days. Like I would not do that.
I was I thought we were both over it. I thought, okay, like this is just my friend I'm going to a concert with. Nope, not true.
Valentine's Day.
Well, okay, I was also trying to forget it was Valentine's Day.
Again, bad SE.
Yeah, I think like, and then it's funny because I talked to my INTJ friend about it, and her TE was like, man, like, I think you're like just different in that you're really dramatic and you can be assertive, but you also know how to keep your emotions in check. So when people don't realize and give you credit for that, it seems like it makes you blow up. And I was like, oh shit, yeah. And so for me, the FI system that was threatened was, I'm dramatic, yes, but I've worked my entire life to try and be more TE, to try and like keep that in check. It's my value system to be.
Whoa. I just realized that really what makes FI emotional is when you use a TE truth about who you are, and then it makes it hard for you to accept who you are.
Can you explain how that applies to what I just said?
So you are dramatic. You are.
Mm-hmm.
And certain facts remind you of the FI of everything that you are, your authentic self. And it makes it hard to accept yourself in those moments. That's why you feel like the self-loathing and like you have trouble giving yourself self-love, as opposed to just owning, yeah, I am a little bit more dramatic. As opposed to being like, yeah, I'm an ENFP and you're an ISTJ, and I am going to have more feelings about the concept of love. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, pretty much. Like,
and I don't relate to that at all. Nobody is ever able to say something that is going to make me then like disown myself in that way. But you know what I do? You know what I do is people will question my logic, and then I will like almost want to disown my logic and like everything I've thought. Like, it
pretty
feels
much
like dismantling. Like, oh my God, what if I am stupid? What if everything I am is a lie? What if I'm a fraud? Like, I think that.
Yeah, and you could,
like,
yes.
I don't relate to that.
Precisely. And you could say that for him, you could talk about the SI of the fact that I'm like, wow, the SI is that he literally is like doubting like how I come off and like stuff like that, to the point where he would like use me being dramatic kind of like as a dig. Like, that really makes me question how I come off to him, how he really sees me, how he really felt. And that makes me question, therefore, how I come off to literally anyone I'd be emotionally entangled with or am friends with or anything.
Oh, wait. So this is like FE would know that everyone's going to have their own sort of perception, and your FI will track that several people have called you dramatic. And so you're viewing it as like an FI truth of who you are. And so, what does everyone else think? What does everyone else's TE think about the FI that I am?
Yeah, it made me really see. I would have, when you say disown your character, I'm like, I would have to have a concrete idea or consistent idea of who I am in the first place to even disown. It just reminds me of how much I don't have a solid perception of myself. And so for me to literally witness someone's perception of how we're cool as friends be shaken again before I realized why that was happening, it was just really triggering and scary to feel like I don't have control over, I guess, what people see, because I'm inconsistent. And because I'm inconsistent, I seem dramatic. And because I'm dramatic, I'll be misunderstood my entire life. Like, that's when it goes off. And I would say for FI users, when that system is like threatened by a TE event or idea, then you go into low vibe FI. Then you go, hey, leave me alone. Which internally I did think that, because I literally stormed out. And that is when you are like in low vibe FI to like calibrate, what do I feel? What is my system? Like, how do I be a better person?
I'm kind of feeling like maybe this video is more talking about low vibe FI, and then we should make another video actually explaining what it is.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand what it is. I mean, like, I still don't understand at all, like, what you were feeling just then, and it stresses me out because, like, I want to understand.
Yeah, I almost feel like we're talking about FI here, just in general, because I'm like, you just realized it was like a system? Like, I was like, kind of like,
well, okay. I know it's a system, but I didn't understand how the system worked.
Yeah. Well, we can do like part 1, part 2 maybe, but I feel like defining FI as a system is like really important, because it's kind of like if I'm up here having all these ideas about the spectrum and you're still like, wait, like, I just feel like we're not quite logically in the same way.
I just like, I'm so annoyed with you, and I want to know why that is, and I want to know if that has to do with low vibe FI or like what's going on.
I mean, I like I'm trying to get it going, like, in terms of like, I mean, yeah, like, I'm in low vibe FI right now because maybe you can feel the energy of I still feel like victimized and kind of confused by who I am. So I think that is a manifestation of low vibe FI. And maybe I keep talking around it on accident without using like TI, but I don't have TI. So like, I don't know how you're going to like define it unless we can parallel it to like
Well,
low
here's
vibe, high
here's a
vibe
question
TE.
for you: is do you remember the last time you felt happy? What was that like?
Well, see, when you ask that, I'm like, do you mean FE happy or FI
No,
happy?
FI. Because I feel like you are going through a rough patch right now. And I'm not trying to like call you out on that. I just want to know the spectrum, because I know there's been times when you have been more okay with your life circumstances and times when you have not been. And I think that is directly connected to FI.
You know, I can't really remember last time I was happy. I can only recall certain points in time when I was for like maybe a couple of days or something. But in a consistent sense, maybe no, I've never been. Which is why,
You
like,
know,
maybe in
something I
general,
feel something I feel like talking about actually is um you've told me before that I helped you understand the purpose of conflict.
mm-hmm.
And I'm curious if you can share some of your thoughts about that, because I feel like a lot of FI users watching are going to be really like turned off by me. And I feel like we have come a long way to even be able to have these sort of candid conversations where I do feel comfortable sharing my FI. Because the thing is, FPs want me to be honest, right? Like, you guys hate whenever I'm shoving things under the rug, but also you guys do not like TI. And so in order for me to be honest, it's going to have to be harsh. So it's like a
Mm-hmm.
lose-lose. And that's why FJs are that way around you, because we don't want to hurt you. We see that our truth is going to hurt you. So that's why we don't. And it's like very hard to be in that situation as an FJ watching your FP friend, and you know with TI the problem, but you know it's going to cause him to lash out if you say it. And so you try and skirt around it. But and it takes like a true friend that I can be honest with to actually say it up front. And I feel like you've grown to understand that, whereas other FPs probably maybe don't have a relationship where someone can call them out in that way, or I don't know.
Yeah.
So can you kind of talk about that? Because I think that that might have to do with, I would say probably higher vibe FI would probably want to know the solution more to why they feel a certain way.
Yeah. I think higher vibe FI does understand the purpose of conflict, like philosophically, and I don't think a lot of FPs ever really get there. But yeah, like I
Can
think
you
high vibe.
explain your thoughts on me, like in conflict, like what
Well,
you said to me before? Because I feel like that would be interesting context for people.
so I think like with conflict, I think most FI users actually are conflict avoidant more than they realize, because like we might think that we are good at handling conflict because we say something blunt with TE, but it's kind of like we just throw a bomb out there and don't really want to deal with the consequence or impact of it afterward. And FJs are all about catching whatever impact they receive in the name of resolving a conflict with whoever. And I think that FPs, without TI to hold strong in their truth, cannot handle conflict, basically. Because conflict, I think, fundamentally comes down to TI matching TI talking about how they see things, what the truth is, and then working to come to a compromise. And I think that I have not had any person serve as a reminder or serve as a sign that anyone would ever want to stick that out with me and stick out to hear my truth. Because
Here's
FPs,
my belief, is that I think most conflict stems from just miscommunication. And I feel like FI and TE might be more inclined to think some people just don't get along because they have different values.
Yes.
Which is true. That's also true. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's a combination of both. But in my opinion, most of the time, people don't get along because they don't understand where the other's coming from. And that's why I like to talk things through.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think that FI is scared that even if it hears where you're coming from, there's still going to be a fundamental clash. And it's like the coup is up. We had a limited time together and it's over or something, is what I think some FPs get into catastrophic thinking in that sense.
I guess I personally think that if you find a problem like that, then I would be thankful, because then you can just wish the person well and then part ways.
Yeah, and I think I can't speak for all FPs, but I at least know many, and especially me, have a lack mentality when it comes to connections and finding better ones or something. Like, I take so much time to weed people out because once I care about you and you leave, I'm going to feel that spot very sorely. So that's why I almost would rather not know the truth in that regard, because it's like I try to vet to protect myself from the impact of when it like falls out or some shit. Like, then it'll be at least worth falling out. So it's like kind of a dramatic, catastrophic sort of thinking. We just really avoid conflict. And for me, I had to really believe that there was even a such thing as my personal truth to even begin to be willing to handle conflict with people. And I
What do
don't
you
think,
mean by, you mean like TI personal truth?
yeah, like TI personal truth, because yes, miscommunications happen, but I think that to even meet people in the middle, you have to like know what you think and know what your perspective is and trust that it exists enough to share it. Because otherwise, I think I just adopt other people's perspectives and think their perspective's right, mine is wrong. I did that a lot as a kid. So
Hmm.
I don't trust sharing my perspective. And that's why I think a lot of FPs are afraid to be intellectual and don't know how to share their thoughts because they just don't think they stand and that they don't exist. And so they don't ever refine them by saying them out loud, especially to a TI user. So they're just really like, yeah, like I think FJs make me doubt my reality probably more than any other type in that regard because
Well,
I
because
see
all
that
I
they're,
do is say, this is where I'm coming from, and then I expect you to say where you're coming from. But then, like, you just either adopt mine or you
mhm.
get mad and cling to yours without sharing.
Yes, pretty much. Like I double down because I'm like, yeah, like I guess I just double down because I don't really know how to share the root of why I feel that way. I don't even know why I see things that way, like half the time. I don't know what I'm reacting to when I have like some maybe TI perspective. And so because I don't have someone to walk me through how to find that, it's even harder when push comes to shove because then the pressure is on. Like an FJ, I'll be like, oh shit, they have this perspective that they've been sitting on for so long. And despite the fact that we're both feely, they have grit that I don't, and that's like intimidating too. So if anything, I'd almost rather share my perspective with thinkers at times, because with an FJ, it's just like I feel like mine is just gonna crumble or something. And I
That's
think that
interesting because I don't think that FJs realize that when we're trying to talk to people. Like, our intention is never to let your side crumble. But I don't
no,
think
you're
we realize that our way of being is then
yeah,
impact.
because I think that when I it was FJs that taught me TI existed, not TPs. Like FJs were the ones that made me realize that like there's this rhyme and reason logically to how people see things, but I can't access mine half the time. So, but FJs can, and it's like really interesting and also makes me envious when they do. So I fucking hate talking things out with FJs because then I just feel like anything I come up with is going to be elementary and not
Well,
able to be refined.
I hate sitting with negative emotions around you just because I care about you and thinking that that has to be that way. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have the energy for that.
I
Like,
mean, that's like valid.
it's like you don't have the energy to maybe talk things through. I don't have the energy to put up with your temper tantrums, honestly. Like, it's like, let's talk about it or let's like move on.
Yeah, pretty much. And so, like, I'm here trying to literally get the energy to keep talking about my perspective instead of just reacting to it. So, what I've done as an FP is I've risen above the temper tantrum, even though people can still see it's there. But I don't really know what to do with it because how do I form it into like a cohesive way of clicking the truth together and changing my actions? Because that's what I'm really missing. And FJs are always taking actions to like change their
Yeah.
perspective. And FPs more like think it through and hope that it clicks something subconsciously. It's like we'll do all this TE work of dwelling on the facts and hope that the 1% of TI that might trickle over is going to help us get the engine started.
I kind of feel like I hate low vibe FI more than I hate low vibe TI.
Yeah, I think they just trigger you different ways is what I would say. Like low vibe TI is going to make you question your truth, but like low vibe FI makes one question their emotional reality. Like I think it makes people have to question where they're coming from either way when it comes to logic or emotions.
Huh. Well, I wonder if that's like an introverted thing. Like FI or TI both makes you sort of question. Because you know what? Every time you're like this, I have to reevaluate why you're my friend. And I always decide to be your friend every time you cause me to
Yeah, but see, you reevaluate why you're my friend, but then you're also subconsciously perhaps reevaluating how you make friends, how you define like those things, you know, because
yeah, I have to reevaluate what I value and why I'm your friend to begin with, and why certain arguments are worth it, or why putting up with things are worth it. Yeah, FI is about what's worth it. Like TI is like, this makes sense, and FI is like, but is it worth it? Is that a cause you want to rally behind? Or
pretty much. And I think for FE, it's like you don't spend a lot of time always evaluating what internally is worth it. So then when you have to, basically, because the situation forces you to, it's like triggering too.
If I'm being honest, sometimes what it is like I feel stupid and sometimes wonder, am I stupid, like, for being your friend, or for other people, like whenever they hurt me, I'm just like, and I know that's harsh, but I'm trying to really get at the root of it. Is like, it makes me think, was I wrong about the worth of this?
Pretty much.
Whenever I find myself not having the energy to deal with some of these conversations, and I know it's not fair, because I'm glad that, I mean, part of me, I'm annoyed that we aren't talking about the actual topic, but part of me is glad, because ever since we met and like we would like fight and stuff, and we would use cognitive functions to help us get over our fights, I was like, fuck, this could be really useful for people. I wish that we were filming this. Like, I think that sometimes. And so, because I think that using the functions could be an amazing tool for fights, honestly. But
yeah, okay, like honestly, I would still be like really resenting FJs if it wasn't for the functions, honestly.
Yeah, but I think if also like our fights is what really has helped me understand the functions that I don't have. But God, what was I gonna say?
Also, I need to charge my phone, so I'm gonna go over here real fast. Can you still hear me without a mic? Can you still hear me? Yes. Can you still hear me without a mic? Okay.
Yes. I was just gonna say that I think what really makes me I know what I was gonna say is that whenever lately you have been wanting me to overanalyze these sort of situations, my FI doesn't find it valuable or a valuable use of my time, and it makes me annoyed. Because that's sort of the clash of like, your FI finds it valuable, mine doesn't, or whatever. But then at the same time, I am thinking of the times when I had you overanalyze things for me. Don't think I didn't know that.
I was waiting for the punchline.
Don't think that I have not forgotten, like, college, like eating B-dubs, like randomly, like making you like bail on your plans, or like making you not talk about what you want to talk about because I was going through a crisis. Like, that has happened so many times where you have dropped what you were doing because I was going through a crisis. And I know that my crisis probably did not seem valuable to you at that time, but you did it anyway. And so I can't not think about that, but then I'm also like annoyed that I'm having to help you. And
if I was like, you can be both.
But you were annoyed that you had to help me with all these,
and
all
you
this drama I had, and I knew, and it pissed me off. But it's like, I think really like low vibe FI, which I was probably using low vibe FI to you back then, right?
Yeah. And it wasn't, and see, it wasn't the fact that you were using low vibe FI that was triggering, but that your low vibe FI would like not thank me, or like just not even do like even the basic like nice.
You don't thank me either when you're using low vibe FI.
Well, I tried to thank you actually before I hung up. I was like, thank you anyway. This still helped, even though I'm mad. I like said that.
But there's so many times that you don't, that it doesn't matter. Like, that's a higher vibe FI thing to do, I think. But anyway,
Yeah.
like, I guess I'm saying that, like, if low vibe TI forces you to reevaluate your truth, then low vibe FI forces you to reevaluate what's worthy, what matters to you.
Pretty much, like, all the time. Because, like, I run out of energy very fast with people. So I know who my closest friends are because they're the people that I don't get sick of helping, even if in the moment I'm, like, pissed as fuck. But,
That's the
like,
thing. I get sick of helping you, but it every time I have to reevaluate the worthiness, and I always decide that it's still worth it.
yeah, and I
But
think the evaluation process is probably tiring for you as an FE user because you'd rather it just, like, having to go through it and then be like, okay, here's my conclusion. Probably tiring, but for me, it just happens instantaneously. But yeah, like that evaluation process of is this worth it or not knowing for a second, that kind of sucks. So I empathize with that
I just
because
like
yeah,
fucking deltas ruin my life. Like, sorry guys. Like, this is just excruciating. Like, I just all in my body. Fuck, what am I saying? I feel like there's like a chemical reaction between like the opposite functions, and like I just want to
yeah.
run away. I want to run away. Like, it's just like FI and SI is just like so
Ugh.
terrible. Like, and I'm not saying that you're terrible.
No, don't worry. I know that you're just expressing.
I
So
know that you know that, but I don't trust anyone like that's watching to get where I'm coming from. Like,
well, I guess to me, the TE is you spent time explaining all of it as opposed to just lashing out. So, but yeah, like, I like didn't, well, for me, like, I can tell that it's hard for you, but also I can feel you regain patience. And so I can assume that you've done like the FI, like internal work of like thinking about it. And that makes me respect the fuck out of you because I don't think other NFJs understand that, like, at all. Like,
wait,
still,
don't understand what?
like the value of evaluating what's important to you because you don't just do that with fights with me. You do that with every time you're trying to share your truth on Twitter and you're like thinking about the possible reactions. Like, maybe that seems like
Yeah.
FU to you, but like the
Yeah, well,
things
TI is evaluating what's true, and FI is evaluating what matters to you. I love that.
yeah, pretty
And a
much.
lot of EJs don't do that.
No, it's hard. Yeah. And I would say right now it is as hard for you probably to help me as it was for me to help you back then because you're trying to work on your inferior judging and I'm trying to work on my inferior perceiving because I don't know what I perceive of my life right now and I don't know what I see. So that for me makes me go into, I guess, lower FI where I'm
Do
more
you
sensitive.
ever do you ever wonder if you're stupid or wrong for judging something as worthy that isn't worthy?
Oh, all the time.
Okay, so I think that's the low vibe FI
Yeah.
because that's what I experience.
Well, I think that high vibe FI is like evaluating with more detachment whether something is worthy or not. So like when I meet a new person before I'm attached, I'm like, oh, okay, like
Maybe
high vibe FI can go through the pros and cons of someone very objectively, the pros and cons of something very objectively. But once you're attached, you go into low vibe FI. Like right now, like this
maybe
ice.
high vibe FI has more of an abundance that if that thing's not worthy, something else will be
Yes,
worthy.
precisely, because high vibe FI does have abundance, but I don't have abundance around men. Like this dude is like the closest I had to like sort of dating someone, I guess. So I'm more triggered by virtually anything he says, and I'm gonna go into low vibe FI mode about that easier and be way more petty, way more confusing and confused, etc. So
I
it's
think
like,
also low vibe FI like really holds all of their cards to them, so keeps it to themselves and tries to
yeah,
protect, and that's why you come off extremely confusing.
yeah,
Like everyone knows sort of the caricature of like an NFP girl like giving mixed signals. Well, I guess it could be a boy or a girl. I'm just saying like NFPs giving mixed signals to whoever they're dating because they don't want to act like they like them, because that's something that always confuses me. Is for you it'd be like the worst thing ever if whoever you are attracted to knows that you like them, and I'm like, well, isn't that the point, to like let them know so that you can date them? Like my
no, because then they have the power to reject me.
I know, but you can't have the possibility of someone accepting you without the potential for them to reject you.
Pretty much.
That's why what NFJs do is try and sneak our way in.
They try to sneak their way in. Weird.
Well, NFJs, when flirting, are like, hey, I like blah, blah, blah about you. See how they respond. If they seem really happy, then that means that you can say something else. It's like a back and forth tennis match to see, like, how far can I go without them wanting me to go away.
Pretty much, yeah. And like FI is like, no, don't play games with me, you dumb.
That's not a game. That's not a game.
Isn't life a game? But
no.
Yeah. I think anyways, High Vibe FI gives a fuck about other people, but it does it in an aligned way because they have abundance that the other people deserve to also evaluate things that are worthy to them and that they deserve it too.
Actually, I have to go to the bathroom like really bad. Do you think that you can go on a rant for a second?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
And then we can end it probably soon after that.
Okay. So like low vibe FI basically kind of ends up wallowing in a sense, and I think low vibe FI ends up wallowing in a way that other people who don't use FI can't relate to, and then they just get really self-absorbed and don't know how to dignify the other person's perspective and incorporate it into their own. But high vibe FI, on the other hand, is like, low vibe FI does that, or it sheds its own perspective for someone else's logically. But high vibe FI isn't about that. And I guess you can spot low vibe FI by if someone seems manic or annoyed. And high vibe FI is honestly very calm and very like, yeah, cool, or very thoughtful. But low vibe FI is going to be like kind of petty or like really grumpy, visibly. Like if you see a grumpy FP, that is not a good FP, because most FPs don't show their emotions on their sleeve unless it's really bad. Okay, yeah. Well, whereas FE will always share it no matter what. Okay, no, that's actually pretty interesting. But yeah, I'd say for the most part in my life right now, I'm experiencing a lot of low vibe FI because I have a lot of TE facts triggering me into trying to figure out who I am. And that's kind of what Megan's always reacting to. And other FE users have been reacting to that too. And I'm trying to get out of it, but it's kind of like the more someone, doesn't dignify my perspective, the more I'm going to double down and be like, go the fuck away. So it's taken me a lot of good FI users in my life, like, to kind of help with that. So while I was talking to myself, I came up with an idea about spotting low vibe. So I think that whenever you can tell an FP is upset, like when you can, on their face, they look mad, they're probably about to low vibe FI you.
Oh, like before we started this video when you kept rolling your eyes at me and giving me dagger looks?
Yeah, pretty much. That's like low vibe FI mode. It's not, because like I'm always like in a bad, I'm not always, but like whenever I'm in a bad mood.
I feel like whenever low vibe FI is in a bad mood, they think that everybody else is the source of their like pain or something.
No, not literally, but we do think that everyone is capable of triggering us more.
Or at least adding to the pain.
Yes, precisely. Because we always know what caused it. We just don't, But low vibe FI, if you can tell that they're mad and they're glaring at you, then like that's low vibe, because that means that they're going to take it out on you, essentially. Because see, when I'm in low vibe FI, for example, I'd never take it out on like my ENFP BFF Christine, like because I trust her.
Why do people take it out on me all the time? Why am I a magnet for that?
Because you don't validate low vibe FI, I guess.
No, I don't. Why should I?
When I say validate, when I say validate, I mean like sit with their FI and sit with your own FI and just like let it air out instead of trying to fix it, which FJs try to fix their own emotions, and that's like the worst. It's kind of like the same as when NE users try to like add to your NI idea and you're like, you're bastardizing the original idea.
The way that I perceive it is that you're asking someone to tell you like, oh, Crystal, it totally is unfair. And I'm not going to do that because you chose this experience.
Like, it's kind of like, I don't need to hear Lori the words that is unfair because I know I already think it's unfair.
It's not unfair. That's why I won't validate it, is that it's not unfair. Here's the reality. Crystal could have dated someone before. It's not my fault, and it's not anyone else's fault that this is like that you haven't had a serious relationship. It's because you chose that. You turned people down. You weren't on dating apps. You didn't go out. You didn't talk to people. You could have. And that's why I won't validate it. It's because you chose career, you chose other things. You've said no. You've not put yourself out there. Like, that's why you haven't had a serious relationship. You've never prioritized it.
Maybe it's also like the energy of like, and I noticing like a theme, because my SI is like, where was someone who actually literally like asked me out who I wanted to, or, you know, it's like all these
so
like
many times
for that.
I know, but what NI maybe understands is that people prioritize things, and then you can't, like, if you aren't prioritizing something, it's not going to just fall in your lap.
Yeah, pretty much, I guess.
Like, someone that is super focused on relationships and not career, they're not going to just get their dream job knocking on their door. You have to show you care about it. Time and time again.
And I notice is like a theme of like small trade-offs and choices that
yes, absolutely.
Well, see, like as SI would be like, oh, have there literally been like because like maybe, and I would see the energy of there's been boy situations and stuff, but
but you attract the boy situation. Like, that's the thing that I'm trying to tell you, is that you want to work at the Washington Post or whatever. It's not going to show up on your doorstep. You know that you have had to take other internships and other jobs before that.
Pretty much, yeah.
And you have done your work as far as a journalist goes and taken jobs, but you don't give any guy a chance unless he is like your fucking soulmate. And that's why. Like, what if you did that with the Washington Post? What if you did not take any small town local paper and you just waited for the Washington Post to show up on your doorstep? That's the way that you treat relationships, and that's why you haven't had one. That's why I don't feel sorry for you at all, because you could have changed it. And the reason why you feel sad is because you think, oh, I'm ugly, I'm not worth it, or whatever, and those things aren't true, and so I'm not going to validate it.
Well, I mean, I don't think I'm ugly, but yeah, sure.
Well, okay, good. I'm glad.
I was like, I get the principle of what you're saying, though. But
like, whatever your FI thinks that makes you unworthy, it's not true. You are worthy. And so that's why I don't validate it. But see, that's the thing. That's the thing, is that you feel super sad, and then you feel like, oh, your video went away. It's almost like, are you not here? Okay. God damn it. She just left right in the middle of it. Okay. So we might have to end this video here, which is a really weird place to end it because I don't know where Crystal went. So, God, this was like the worst video ever. Hold on. I'm going to see if I can just call her. Hello. Okay, I think her phone died. So, okay. Stop looking at me. Okay, so we're going to end this video here. This was a candid conversation with me and Crystal talking about introverted feeling. And it's messy. This was a very messy episode. We are going to return with you next week to, now that we've talked about this, have a better understanding of introverted feeling and how it can show itself in the high vibe and low vibe. And I'm a little disappointed that the video cut out right whenever I was saying that, because what I was about to say to Crystal is that it's whenever low vibe FI is afraid of FJs judging them, it's because they feel like, oh, I'm in this bad situation and I wish that they had empathy for the situation I'm in. And I think there's like all this sort of TE conditions that are put on you, or that you put on yourself, that we don't care for TE. I don't know. It's like, we still love you. And it's crazy. It's like you guys are afraid of us for judging you. But at the end of the day, we love, like, at least for me and Crystal, it's like I love and support you more than anyone else, and that's why I'm not validating you. I'm not validating you because I don't care. It's in fact that I care so much that I don't like the way that you're talking to yourself, and I'm not going to validate that. So hopefully that makes sense, because I would imagine that there's a lot of FPs watching that have been in a similar situation with their FJ friend who has been hurt by them seemingly not caring about their problem. So when we don't, hello? Crystal? Crystal, can you hear me? Okay.
My
Oh,
computer
she's
died.
here. Okay.
Oh, wait, I don't know
Oh
if
my
the
God.
video's
It's still going. It's still going.
okay. Okay. Literally, I was charging my phone and then it just cut out. I'm like, ah, damn it. So then I
Okay.
came over to my
I was just
Cool.
ending it by saying that if there are any FPs watching, and if you ever feel like you have an FJ friend that doesn't care about your problem,
They don't. They
we
typically
actually
don't.
care. We actually care more than you can even imagine. That's what I was
Yeah.
trying to say, is that I love and support you more than you can ever imagine. And so whenever you are being really rude to yourself, that's what I'm not going to stand for. That's why I won't have the conversation, because I'm not willing to have a conversation under the conditions that you are a total victim. It's
Yeah,
almost like
pretty
a
much.
TE condition that you're putting on it. And that's why we won't help you. That's why FJs judge you.
Mm-hmm.
We
It
judge
reminds me.
the way you're talking about it, but not you.
It reminds me of when I've judged you for like things and like been kind of like, why is this an issue or like something like because I so believe in you that I don't even want
Oh,
to
yeah,
dignify.
yeah.
So like pretty much.
Yeah, I so believe in you that it's annoying to talk about. And it's annoying whenever you are putting yourself so lower than everyone else.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I would say like it seems like FJs don't want to dignify low vibe FI because they don't want to go down to that level. Like, they don't want to put themselves in the energy around that because when I'm in low vibe FI, I want to come out, but unless you come down here with me, if you're talking from up here, then you can't
I don't
reach
even
me.
know how you can go down there with you without lying. It seems like a lie to my TI.
Yeah, I think. But you also said earlier that like it's like triggering because then you have to evaluate what's worth things to you, and you don't really want to do that in that moment or something, you know? So
And
like,
there's just too many lies to TI for me to really get down there.
gotcha.
Like, I'm not going to be
Yeah.
like, oh, it's so sad that you've not dated anyone. Because
Well,
you
when
think
you
that
said
you're not worth it. And that's not true. And so I'm not going to go down there.
well, when you said I can understand that you think that way, but that's not true. Well, that's bullshit. When you've said that before, that's like kind of helped me step out of it.
Okay.
So it's like when you dignify the illusion, when you say, I know that you are under the illusion of that right now, but that's not true. So good
Okay.
luck.
I'll try that more.
And then I'll be like, oh, wait, is it an illusion? And then like, I'll be like, oh, it is an illusion. And then like, yeah, basically it's like, because I do notice that it's like emotional labor to like have someone literally attempt to dignify a truth. Because with inferior TI, you can't dignify like anything but what the truth is. Like you can't like pretend like you think that for a second to work with this concept. So that's something I've come to realize about why FJs don't want to talk about these things because they don't have anything to say because it's just not computing as true.
Yeah, it's just not
I don't
true. Yeah.
even hypothetically. They don't want to even talk in TE hypotheticals
Yes,
because of
yes,
how
that's exactly it. That's exactly it. But it's also like my TI, I'm valuing TI more than your
yeah.
FI, and your FI is delusional.
Yeah, because my FI is like, can we entertain the thought that what if I was a victim? And you're like, but you're not. So how are we gonna entertain that? Because it's not true. Like you
Yeah,
just
I have
can't
nothing
even.
to say. And it's also like my
Exactly.
bad TE that has nothing to say to it.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
think that
pretty
like
much.
a TJ, for example, that would still have the same TI that I do, would at least say like, you know, a lot of people do feel this way sometimes, or like I don't know, like, oh,
No,
life can be blah blah blah.
what an actual NTJ did say was like, but Crystal, you are dramatic, but at the same time, you're also someone that like tries to keep it in check, and that's really confusing for most people, and that's probably confusing for you too. And I was like, oh shit, she's right.
Okay, yeah, Yeah, was that your INTJ friend?
Yeah, she was like, that's confusing for you. So she basically was just like, not even like, she just skirted over my FI being like, I'm such a victim. And she was like, well, logically, you seem like you don't know what's going on with who you are, da da da.
Wow,
And then
it's so
talks about,
interesting how your NTJ friend was able to, one, think the exact same thing that I think, but then validate you differently to where it works.
Yeah. Wait, is it because your TI can tell that she thought the same thing? Like,
Yes,
oh my
she's
god.
seeing the same exact picture as me. She just is more, and it's funny because she's being very blunt about the truth, but for some reason it works for you. And whenever I'm that way, it doesn't work, and it makes me sad.
I think it's because there's more, what is it, momentum behind what you think, because it's TI. She is just literally like kind of going along her way and glossing over the logic. So it's like if she doesn't make it like stick, because TI makes things stick when they say things, then I will be able to kind of lightly process it on my own and get over it. Like she was basically like, but you are dramatic, but there's also other facts about you that are more interesting to your value system than just that you're a dramatic person. Like she reminds me that there's a value system, there's a rhyme or reason why I am that way, and that doesn't, like, she just doesn't even acknowledge the situation that caused it. She just goes, okay, well, your reaction now is you need someone to remind you that you have a truth. I don't know what your truth is, but you need to go find it.
I
I
guess my mindset is more like, if you want to be dramatic, you can be dramatic. If you don't want to be dramatic, you don't have to be. Like, you're not chained to any of that.
Yeah. And I think, like, on some level, it's like maybe triggering for me to like notice that you're judging me when we both get called dramatic, but then it's in such
I don't even
opposite
think
ways.
I'm judging you. Actually, the last thing I would like to talk about, and then we should probably end this. You told me earlier that I was judging you with FI, but not TI. What is that like? And have I been
Okay.
judging you with FI this whole time?
Yes, because you
Okay, because what is that? Like,
Okay, so like let's
because I'm
like
not judging you with TI.
yeah. So the TI side of you is like, okay, like Crystal struggles with like limiting beliefs around like romantic relationships. Like this is nothing new. Like, should I even be like fucking surprised that she like self-sabotaged? Blah blah blah. Like TI just kind of is like, yeah, like it is what it is. Like this is the situation we're in. It's kind of like above all of it. The FI of it is kind of like, damn, like I keep like fucking bending over backwards for this bitch who like can't fucking learn, it seems, and that's wasting my time and affecting my life in
Yeah,
general.
it is.
And also it also is triggering because like what the fuck, like why am I putting in the effort when it's not being appreciated? I feel not appreciated, and I also feel like
This is
I feel
total
dumb.
type 2 right now, by the way. Like, everything I'm acting is extremely type 2 because I'm taking it extremely personally that you aren't taking my help, and then it's making me think that I'm not lovable.
Yeah, and it's like also I can't help her because like my limited TE means I can't even like entertain the notions she's going through, and like she's getting mad at me, but it's not my fault that she doesn't get it. So like why should I have to take shit? But like also, is it my so FI is like going through like a whole world of evaluating, well, I'm a giver, is that good of me to give? Whenever I give and it's not worth it, why don't I like all
Yes,
these things?
that is exactly what I'm doing. I'm like wondering, like, am I giving too much? Am I giving not enough? Like, I don't seem to be validating you correctly, but I also feel like I'm doing too much.
Yeah, then as an NFP, if you're an NFP scout, be like, do I generally give too much? Do I generally not give enough? Like, da-da-da. Like, not even just with this specific situation.
Yeah, that
So
is
it's
sort of
like,
what I am thinking, though.
yeah, so it's like you're kind of like, because also like this specific sort of situation where I have triggers around love because I'm still there, but you're not also there anymore. Like,
I
when you
know.
say,
I'm actually really sad that we're not really in the same stage of life in certain things because it makes me feel like not as close to you. But there's also
yeah,
nothing we can do about it.
pretty much. Because like you said, I was helping you with Kevin like 3 years ago now. That's so long ago. 3 years ago. But you're not there anymore. You have had a good Valentine's Day for once. So you just feel
First
like
ever.
you said, like it's like you just don't feel like you're on the same page as me because you're not in the limiting beliefs mindset about being lovable anymore.
But that's the thing that is hard, is that I understand where your limiting beliefs are coming from because I've had them before. I just don't have them anymore. And so I'm not going to go backwards in my growth and talk about those limiting beliefs as if they're true, because then
you don't want to relive them. But it just so happens that because we're so connected that like it's also inspiring to see that you have a healthy relationship now when you for so long, I remember, did not think that was possible.
Here's another low vibe FI thing, is that I'm glad that you say that it's inspiring, because yesterday when I was talking about how I was happy in my relationship, you were all like, I'm triggered, I'm mad that I don't have that. And I think that that's something that low vibe FI does, is compares itself to other people and is angry that other people have what they want. So, and it makes me mad.
Yeah, pretty much, because it's like lack mindset, because it's like picking on the fact that I have lack around this, when all I was kind of doing was trying to express, but I realized that it looked like I was asking for something from you as opposed to just.
And again, my TI is not judging you, because this is a human problem. You're not the only one that does that. Everyone does.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that FJs hate when they're in low vibe FI. Like that's like the worst possible thing. That's like hell on earth for them when they're in low vibe FI, because they're so triggered by like my low vibe FI. Whereas I'm kind of like, yeah, another day. It's like the weather sometimes is gloomy, sometimes I'm in low vibe FI, and sometimes I pick myself up somehow and like the sun's out, like high vibe FI. Like maybe I'll go off and have a great day, or maybe something else will fucking like, it's like, I guess maybe FI feels like it's always reacting to things, but then in turn that creates.
I think FI is the most exhausting. Like TI can be hurtful, like being around low vibe TI can be like hurtful, but talking about FI makes me feel like I want to go to sleep. Like I'm just absolutely exhausted by this conversation and everything.
Yeah, I think FI is objectively the most exhausting and maybe most energetically impactful at times. Like when people feel FI, that's like so connected to like trauma, so connected to like really intense, like bad and good emotion. So I think it is tiring to be around FI, to experience FI. Like I'm tired, I'm still gonna go to work, because it's also tiring to like, it's like I can't escape my FI no matter what I do. So if I just submerge myself in facts that remind me that there's other facts out there to have abundance about, that like helps me when I'm in a bad mood, so I work so much. So like, I don't think you're wrong. I personally would think I think FI is the most kind of exhausting, and it's exhausting to everyone around it, and especially people that don't use it consciously. So nothing wrong with thinking that, because it's true, objectively.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that people are more maybe triggered by low vibe FI than low vibe TI. Because the people that are triggered by low vibe TI just go off and like think about it and they can forget about it. But low vibe FI is going to make you have to think about your FI, and I think that's hard for people.
Maybe.
Like it's hard for people to evaluate their worldview, but it's also hard for people to evaluate their emotional system, because emotional systems end up.
I think it still depends on the type, which one though, because for me, I don't stop thinking about my TI. I don't.
Well, I was saying just low vibe TI and FI in general. They just, yeah.
Like, I mean, low vibe TI won't cause an emotional impact, but it will make you feel crazy, and that's also impactful.
That's true. Yeah. Like, yeah, I would say like I notice low vibe FI a lot in other people, but all I do is forgive it, because I try to forgive my own low vibe FI.
I don't forgive my own, and I don't forgive yours.
Like, I think I forgive mine because I think that I'm worth forgiving. And I think that's why I seem arrogant to people when I mess up and don't apologize, because I'm always like, I'm worth it. But now I'm learning that I have to show
I'm not worth forgiving.
Oh, well, I think you're worth forgiving.
Well, that's why I don't do anything bad, because if I did, then I wouldn't be able to forgive myself.
Oh, well, I guess it doesn't comfort you that you're always going to end up accidentally doing something bad, even when you try not to, because that's.
Well, yeah, I know that, and I haven't forgiven myself for any of that.
Well, you should. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not laughing at her pain, guys. I'm just laughing at the funny, ridiculous concept that Megan would think she's not worth. But
well, yeah, of course.
So interesting. If users are so harsh on themselves too, in a way.
Yeah, that's why we hold ourselves to such high standards. We aren't able to live with ourselves if we don't meet them.
Yeah, that's why when you fuck up, you guys seem way more upset about it. Like super, like, yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, damn. We can't forgive ourselves. We can't accept ourselves. Like, I can't even accept. For those that don't know, I'm doing a psychology master's program online, and I had a book report due, and I pushed the submit button, but I guess my internet like went out, and so it didn't submit. And the next day I got like a 0, and then I was like frantically like, oh my gosh, I submitted, I promise. There's no way for my professor to believe me that I got it done in time. Like, what am I gonna do? Luckily, it was fine, but I was upset about that for like pretty much all day, thinking that I was the stupidest person ever for not double checking. And I'm still not okay with that. That's like an example of like, just that ruined my day. Like, but NFPs don't let things like that ruin your day, but then you make more mistakes because you don't have that preventing you. Like, it's like, that's something that propels me to be good or whatever, because then I won't be able to live with myself if I mess up.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Anyway, any final words? We should probably end this.
I think it's harder to define low and high vibe FI with TI because it doesn't work off TI. It's like literally like an energy kind of thing. All we can say is there's a framework, and then there's just times when you just slide down here, and yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to really say about this specific topic, but I guess I did learn a lot about how FE sees FI. Not that it's new information, but just like whenever it's reworded a certain way, I get more out of it each time. But yeah, FI users, their ethics systems are pretty deep, but also they don't think they'll ever matter in the external world. So that's why they keep them to themselves, because why let something out if it's just going to be damaged by external exposure?
So I think we're gonna think together this week about high vibe FI. Then
hang on.
Oh. On my version, it's fine. On my version, it's fine, and I'm the one recording it, so I'm assuming that. Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Anyway, the next video next week, we're going to talk about more like for those like that are interested in learning, but hopefully you learned something from just watching us. So thank you so much for watching this video. Crystal, can you hear me? I'm so confused.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
So we're not moving, so I'm like.
Oh, okay. Well, it's fine on my version, and since I'm the one recording it, I'm sure it'll be fine. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this. Hopefully I would be curious if you can see yourself in either me or Crystal in these situations. Let me know, and thank you for watching and commenting, and have a good rest of your day. All right, bye. See ya.